Hold on, I think Jason's there. Let me see. Jason, are you there?
Yeah, I got you now.
Hey, oh, there you are. Hi, buddy.
Hey, Jason. There we go.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, we're just talking high school football on a Monday morning. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience with that too.
Did you not play high school football at all?
I played Pop Warner for 1 year in the 8th grade. I played quarterback, and I was the most scared person in the world to get hit by anybody.
Huh.
And so, but I actually we had a good team, luckily, and so I just threw the ball and hoped somebody caught it.
Which is so bizarre because you're a scrappy player playing hockey. Like, you're picking fights and throwing fisticuffs.
You're mean.
Yeah.
You want to know what it really is I wasn't good enough to scan the play quick enough. Like, but you'll get this. Like, I was told a play, right? And when you're playing Pop Warner, it's like, hey, I remember there was one play that was called throw a 1 to this kid. His name was Trey. I don't know how I remember that, actually. And he would just run a straight line down the left side of the field. And so I would get the ball, and I would just throw it there. I never even looked if somebody else was open or if he was covered. I would just throw it. And that was it. Like that. And so if that wasn't open and I happened to see it wasn't open, I was still throwing it because I wasn't good enough to scan the other way.
So, Jason, we were just talking to Ben, and Ben said he once fumbled 3 times in a game in high school as a running back. Do you remember from your youth, not necessarily even college or pro hockey, just a disastrous game where you made a million mistakes?
I've had so many. Oh my gosh. And oddly enough, there was 2 games I remember off the top of my head that were actually what I felt that way. And they were some of the biggest games for me to get scouted. One was for juniors and one was for college. And I remember my dad being at both of those games because he's a crazy fanatic. And he would make sure that he was at those games to make sure that I played well and everything was good and so on. And I remember talking to him after both of those games being like, you're done. Both of those games, I got offered to play for both of those teams, which was completely bizarre. Makes no sense to me.
Good scouts.
Yeah, great scouts. I paid them off just enough, I guess.
Well, I don't know if you guys have the same saying in the hockey locker rooms, but as we're a bit ready to watch film, we're always reminded that it's never as good as you think and never as bad as you think. You can come off a game for us on a Sunday and just feel awful about yourself. Like you just want to beat yourself up and flog yourself because you feel so terrible about yourself on Sunday night. And then you go and watch film on Monday, you're like, not that bad.
Hawks watching a ton of film.
I actually got a decent grade on the game. You feel kind of good about this. Then other games you're like, hell yeah, you're pounding your chest and you feel like King Kong and you walk in there like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I thought I had a good game.
100%. But how funny is it, too, when you actually have the game that is that bad? Right? Like, you know that it's that bad.
It's awful. It's
and then you get on video, you see video, and you're like, wow, it's even worse than I thought. I knew it was bad, but it's even worse. And in hockey, I know football, it obviously, I think it might be a little different with how much it resets after every play. But for us, there's times that, like, you have a 3-minute shift in your own zone, and you're like, this isn't even hockey. Like, just get me off the ice. This is so bad.
Jason, it's Meat Sauce. How tough is it to be around Carly 24/7 now?
She's the worst. It's awful. Honestly, like, if you want to know, like, the best test of a marriage in the world is a quarantine. And we've failed miserably. We have failed miserably. I've gone, we were talking the other day about how many car rides I'm going to end up going on that just like to nowhere, just to go drive. Just, pack up the kids and go and let her sit at home alone for a few hours and just be in silence.
That's probably a good thing.
This is the first time I believe that we've had you on since the trade. Am I wrong about that?
I think that's right.
I
don't think we've had you on since.
So let me do this. Pittsburgh Penguin, Jason Zucker is our guest. That's a really weird sentence to say. Going back to the first time that you walked into the offices and such there, and got to know everybody in Pittsburgh. Is there one thing that sticks out where you're like, this is a completely different planet, that being on this team is so different in this way?
Well, my first day was a complete whirlwind, as everybody that has ever been traded can tell you. But for me, I had a game that night. So I flew out of Minneapolis at like 9 a.m., 8:30, 9 a.m. And I landed here around 12:30. So I had somebody from the team pick me up from the airport. We went straight to the practice facility because I had to do a physical in order. And so the trade technically didn't go through until like 3 o'clock that afternoon because it was pending a physical because of my broken leg this year. So they wanted to check that. So I was joking with Carly, like, how funny would it have been if all of a sudden they're like, hey, trade didn't go through. We don't like your x-rays. I had to like go back to Minnesota. But anyways, so I had to do that. And then I went to the hotel, had about 30 minutes to take a little nap and rest, and then went straight to the rink. And so I hadn't met any of the guys. I knew a couple of them, luckily, from playing juniors and things. But the weirdest part is walking in, like, I didn't even know where to go when I got to the arena. I like mapped the arena. I find the parking lot. I park. I go and I walk in, and I literally asked the security guard where the locker room is. I was like, do you know where I'm supposed to go? And he's like, yeah, go that way. And so on. So that was kind of, it was really bizarre. And then sitting in the locker room.
Jason, how does that work, by the way? Like, do they give you a pass, or do you just have to say, hey, I'm on the team. Where do I go?
I literally, luckily they knew just because the trade just happened. So it was kind of fresh in their minds. I don't know if they necessarily knew what I looked like, but they knew there was a new guy. And Pittsburgh's a crazy sports town. So I think everybody is very in tune with that at the rink and so on. And so luckily the guy's like, oh, hey, Jason, and like showed me where to go. So I literally walked in the locker room. And I was the first one there because I had to get new gear, figure out what gear I was wearing that night, helmets, gloves, pants, all that stuff. I didn't have anything, right? And so I got there super early just because I knew I was going to have to figure that stuff out. So there's nobody in the locker room, not one player. The trainers are all hidden in their back rooms because no players are there yet. So I'm literally walking in the locker room. I have no idea where to go. I'm standing in the hallway, and finally somebody passed me, and I'm like, hey, I'm Jason. Where do I go? And he's like, yeah, just go over here, and this guy's here and help you with that, and so on. And so that was kind of a crazy experience, just walking into a locker room I'd never been in, knowing nobody. And then slowly the players started trickling in, and so I got to meet them kind of one by one as they'd walk in the locker room. I'd pass somebody and say hi, and and so on. And that was kind of the first day.
How awkward is it when you get into a new locker room and maybe you don't know all the names and faces, and you're basically like, I don't know who you are, but apparently you're my new teammate?
Yeah. Well, the hockey world's pretty small, so you've at least played against them at some point, most likely, unless it was a call-up or something like that. But, I knew most of the guys at least by their name, not necessarily faces to names, but I knew at least their names.
Was there a guy on that team that you had a tussle with at some point? You're like, God, this guy?
Literally the last time we played here, less than a month ago, Brandon Tanev and I got into a little one, and I said a lot of things to him during that moment. And he returned the favor, of course. It wasn't just one way, but yeah, it was pretty funny. There's a lot of that, but I think guys are pretty good about, letting that stuff go. And it's part of the game.
And is there actually just a protocol across maybe just the niceties that happen in the locker room where does everybody come up one by one and just introduce themselves? Or is it just sort of, how does that work? Even when you guys accept a new player, let's say when you're with the Wild.
Well, honestly, it's a little bit crazy because there's guys that won't even have seen him. So the guy that comes in is trying to get ready for a game as well, right? Practice days are a little different, but a game day, you're trying to get ready for the game. So I also have my game day routine that I'm trying to somewhat follow. And so I'm not just sitting in my stall in the locker room, just waiting for people to come in. So like Chris Letang, for instance, gets to our games pretty late. So I didn't even meet him until after our pregame meeting. because he was doing his thing, I was doing mine, and like I said hi to a lot of guys when I saw him around, and I tried, like I said, I got there super early to make sure that I was around more and not just hiding in the back somewhere stretching and so on. But it was really bizarre because there were certain things I wasn't a part of, I wasn't just sitting around there.
Couple of final points for Jason Zucker, and then we'll let him go. Thanks for your time, Jason. Clearly, we all know Sidney Crosby as the player. He's one of the greatest players of all time. Wherever you want to rank him is up to you. But give us something about Sidney Crosby, the man, that the average person doesn't know.
He's honestly, it's actually blown me away how nice of a person he is. So he was the first person to text me after the trade. And just a tiny backstory on this. My brother Cameron, my younger brother, is the biggest Pittsburgh Penguins fan, and he has been his entire life. And we've given him such a hard time for that forever, because Evan, my oldest brother, and I grew up Red Wings fans, and they had those 2 years where they went to the finals back-to-back years. So it was always a big battle at our house, and we've hated Pittsburgh in our house as a joke, just as a joke against Cameron, because we can't be on his side with anything. So when this trade happened, he was the happiest person in the world. And so I sent him a screenshot of the text I got from Crosby, and he like lost it. He thought it was the coolest thing ever. But Sid, he reached out. He was the first guy to do it. And made sure that he wanted to help with anything with the move, with the family, any of that sort. But he's texted me, 3-4 times during this quarantine, just checking in. Hey, how you doing? How's the family? You guys hanging in there type thing. And so he's just one of those guys that is just a super nice guy, just wants to be around the team and be around the guys and be helpful in any way that he can. So it was really cool to see that.
Jason, you've had success there. I mean, almost immediately you've gone there, you've scored goals, you played well. Was there any part of you, just because of human nature, that wondered after the tumultuous couple of years you've had with the Wild? I mean, you've played well, obviously, but they've been trying to trade you. Was there any part of you that was a little worried you didn't deserve to be on a line with Sidney Crosby?
You know what? It is. I mean, he's, and I'll say, to your point, Corey, he's right now, people say arguably one of the best in the world. Now me playing with him, I was one that said that as well. Now me playing with him, the way that he plays in all facets of the game, he is the best in the world. There's nobody, I don't think there's anybody that's close to him in that realm. And that's for a whole nother conversation, but that's how I feel. And so, yeah, I mean, to answer your question, Hawk, yes, because it was really, really bizarre. All of a sudden walking into a locker room day one and playing, I look on the screen and it's Zucker, Crosby, and Hornquist. And, that was kind of a surreal moment. It was pretty crazy to see that. And I immediately, that day I was sitting there talking to him, trying to figure out some things on the bench, tendencies that he likes or certain things he likes to do on the ice. And he kind of said, hey, just don't worry about it today. Like, just go play. He's been around trades a lot. He understands what happens and how much information you get inundated with, in a short amount of time. And so he was really good about saying, hey, just leave it alone. Just go play. And as this thing develops in the next few games, we'll kind of foot and keep talking. But today, just kind of go play hockey and figure it out.
Does he play golf?
He does. He's a big golfer. Yeah, he's actually a member of a golf course out here. I think it's the Swickley Country Club, if I'm correct. I could be a little off on that, but I've heard it's a nice course. I haven't played there yet. I'll put in a good word for you.
Nice try, Sauce. No. That's not going to work. Jason, congrats on your success with Pittsburgh. Hopefully the season gets back up and running here in the next couple of months, and if not, we can check in before you head back to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you know what? Just you guys have my phone number. Give me a call anytime. I am around Carly too much, so
yeah, right.
I'd be happy to step away for 5 minutes, 5 hours. Couple, whatever you guys want.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
See you guys.
Jason Zucker of the Pittsburgh Penguins. One final segment of the Power Trip Morning Show after this on the Fan.